What is going on, Laker fans? What the hell is going on, Laker fans? Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Thank you for coming on the channel. Right as I started, the dog just starts barking out of nowhere. Oh, that's perfect. We're about to record a YouTube video here, and freaking rookie, the dog starts barking. Okay, appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Um, got really just this isn't going to be too long of a video here, but I'm just so intrigued here and trying to figure out what the hell is going on with Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks. And I want to play out a scenario as well that if Giannis became available, whether it's this year at some point or next year or whatever the case is, what the Lakers should do. I find this whole situation really odd. I had no idea a month ago or so that Giannis wasn't happy or may not be happy in Milwaukee, and there's some signs here leaning towards he's not all that happy. So I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. First time on the show, thank you for being here. If you've been on the show all the time, thank you for coming back. Please subscribe to the channel if you don't mind. Okay, so I think you guys know me well enough here. I'm not exactly a hot take guy. Okay? Not a hot take guy. Not really trying to I don't know, just come up with stuff that I don't either genuinely believe in or just yell at the top of my lungs, any of that stuff. So I was a little kind of curious about the story. I'm like, okay, well, is this Buck story about Giannis? My goal here and my intention is not to try to have a hot take on it. My goal is to try to figure out what the hell is going on with Giannis Antetokounmpo. I want to read some comments here. Not even the latest ones that came out yesterday, which I'll get to in a second. I want to go back to first what he said about a month ago with Tanya Ganguly from the New York Times. And again, there's two topics that I want to get into. Trying to predict what's going on with Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks. And two, is there a potential play here for the Lakers if he ever became available? Maybe he never becomes available, but you guys tell me. I'm going to read some quotes here. This is from, like I said, about a month ago or so. Giannis told the New York Times this, okay? And I just want to go back to give kind of the full story to it. It was a while since it came back. And then I'm going to read some comments that he had on a podcast yesterday. He said, you've got to see the dynamics, how the coach is going to be. By the way, a brand new coach for them. I think Adrian Griffin is the new coach there. How we're going to be together. At the end of the day, I feel like all my teammates know and the organization knows that I want to win a championship. As long as we're on the same page with that and you show me and we go together, win a championship, I'm all for it. The moment I feel like, oh, yeah, we're trying to rebuild, then he goes on to say, there will never be hard feelings with the Milwaukee Bucks. I believe that we had 10 unbelievable years, and there's no doubt I gave everything to the city of Milwaukee. But at the end of the day, being a winner, um, it's over that goal. Winning a championship comes first. I don't want to be 20 years on the same team and don't win another championship. When this first came out, I was like, well, I kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, be honest, I feel like the Milwaukee Bucks have been trying to win. I mean, hell, they won an NBA championship with you. They're pretty much competing or one of the favorites in the Eastern Conference, it seems like the last 4 or 5 years every year. So kind of came out of nowhere. Um, Yesterday, there was a podcast that came out, and this was, I think the podcast is called 48 Minutes. Okay. Let me see if I got that right. I want to make sure that I'm giving the proper credit here. I think the podcast is called 48 Minutes. And here's the quote that he had here. He said, I'm a Milwaukee Buck, but most importantly, I'm a winner. If there's a better situation for me to win the Larry O'Brien, I have to take that better situation. There's a problem in Milwaukee. I mean, these comments aren't coming from nowhere. These comments, there's only a few players, by the way, in the NBA that if they talk, we stop and listen. If there's a player that's moved around a couple different times and a player that, maybe you don't have all the trust with that he's committed to the team that he's at, all right, that's a different story. But there's a few players. If Luka says something, which you very well can down the road, you're going to listen. He's only played for one team. If Nikola Jokic decided to say something, okay, interesting. If Joel Embiid, who's on a Philly team that doesn't really seem like they got all their ducks in the row and they know what the hell they're doing, okay, that's interesting. Giannis Antetokounmpo is one of those players. If he's talking, everyone should be listening. He's not going on a podcast and doing a piece with the New York Times and putting these quotes out unless there's an issue, unless he believes there's somebody within that organization that's not all about winning. I don't know who he's talking about. Is he talking about teammates? Is he talking? He can't be talking about the coach because the coach is gone. So then that makes me think he's talking about the front office. He's talking about ownership. It's got to be somewhere in that direction. Giannis clearly sending a message, and I never really thought there was a conversation to be had. I thought Giannis might be one of those players that stays with a franchise his entire career. How can you not now be thinking to yourself, well, maybe that's not going to be the case? Maybe there's a very good chance that Giannis Antetokounmpo in a few years, and I'm going to get through his contract in just a second, maybe in just a few years, Giannis decides, you know what, this isn't the place for me anymore. I already got everything out of it. But he won an NBA championship, clearly not content with it, and I respect that. That's a player that wants more. That's a player that wants to continue winning. Okay. I'm going to give you guys a quick idea of what Giannis's contract looks like. And then I'm going to try to play out a scenario that if he became available, what that should mean to the Los Angeles Lakers. Okay. Giannis could be you could make the argument he's the best player in the world. Put it this way. You're not getting past three fingers to describe the three best players in the world. You're not getting past three to throw Giannis into that mix. Giannis is one of those players. Here's Giannis's contract, and this is why it's important. Giannis is on the Milwaukee Bucks this year. Giannis is on the Milwaukee Bucks next year. After that, he's got a player option. So Giannis has 2 more years on his contract. He's walking into the prime of his career. He's 28 years old as we speak. I think I have here his birth date. I could find it. Not that important right now. But he clearly has a lot of great basketball left in front of him. And what I'm trying to figure out here is there a scenario down the road where this just does not get any better for the Milwaukee Bucks and that relationship is actually deteriorating? It's not getting any better, like I mentioned. Then what happens if Giannis actually wants out? There'll be a lot of teams obviously trying to figure out how the hell do we get Giannis Antetokounmpo. And what he could do if he does not sign an extension, he could also really put that organization. He could handcuff them. And by the way, I love when stars do this, where they basically, they tell an organization that, listen, if you're not on the same page as I am, and your commitment to winning is not as high as mine, then you know what? Before my contract comes to an end, I'm gonna make sure that you guys worry about whether I'm going to be on this franchise or not. The pressure you're going to get from the media, the pressure you're going to get from the fan base. It's a really smart thing to do, and I think it's the only time where an owner can feel like, oh my gosh, I don't have control. I better make sure that this squad's got a legitimate chance to win an NBA championship because that's what my star wants, and that's what one of the best players in the world wants. I've heard people talk about the Lakers. And listen, I said this from the beginning because I want to make sure this isn't a hot take. I'm just playing out the scenario if, hypothetically, Giannis Antetokounmpo became available, how should the Lakers react to that? Well, I've heard people say, well, how is Giannis and you can't have Anthony Davis and Giannis play together. How are those contracts going to work? Because he's going to let me just clarify everything. If Giannis became available and had any interest, 1% interest of coming to the Los Angeles Lakers, you do absolutely everything you possibly can to bring Giannis Antetokounmpo to the Lakers. First off, it's not going to be happening this year. So it would happen basically at the earliest that I think he'd really make noise is a year from now because the front office gets a year to try to figure things out. he would be an expiring deal next year. So now he's really, really got a grip on the franchise and on kind of determining what the Milwaukee Bucks do. But this whole playing with Anthony Davis, that whatever, Anthony Davis would be in a deal if you went to go try to get Giannis. So you don't have to worry about, hey, is AD and Giannis Antetokounmpo, are they going to be able to fit together? First off, if you were able to figure that out and have both players on the team, sounds good. You take your chances, fill out the rest of the roster. One's going to play 4, one's going to play 5. You could figure everything else out from there. But I don't even think that's going to be the scenario. I'm just saying that ultimately, go get Giannis if the opportunity's there. And I think the only way that you're going to get Giannis, I saw some trade scenarios. I think it was like, hey, you could give Reeves and Rui and this and that. Most likely what you do is try to get Giannis. And if Anthony Davis is not a part of that deal, maybe you're using Anthony Davis to go fill in the rest of your roster. But there are certain players in the league that if they become available, you do everything you can to go get them. I'm not talking about Kyrie Irving. I'm not talking. There's certain players that are their names, but they're not franchise superstar, move heaven and earth to go get them while they're in the prime of their career. There's 3 big men in the NBA that dominate the headlines, and they're the 3 best big men in the league. It's Nikola Jokic, it's Joel Embiid, and it's Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I'm sorry, but Anthony Davis is not in that conversation. AD had been in that conversation in the past, and maybe AD can start working his way, obviously back into that chatter. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't know if Giannis decided he would leave. And you know what? Let me go to a big time market. I feel like the New York Knicks would have a legitimate shot at him. I don't know if he would say, let me go to a big time market. Let me go to a franchise. I played with a smaller market. I did it in Milwaukee. I won a championship in Milwaukee. They hadn't had a championship since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's always going to be, praised and appreciated and respected in Milwaukee. Even if he left tomorrow, that would be the case. I wonder if he's starting to look at, let me be a part of those brighter lights. Let me see what it would be like potentially in an LA or in New York, or maybe there's another market out there that we're not talking about. I just think the situation is fascinating. I think the fact that we're sitting here and Giannis has twice in the past, 4 or 5 weeks, talked about how, hey, Milwaukee's it's great and all, but if we're not trying to win an NBA championship, I'm going to go ahead and move on. I'm going to go somewhere else where I have a better opportunity for Larry O'Brien. The guy is not, he's not stuttering in any of these conversations. It sounds like he means what he's saying. So I think it's interesting. And, obviously as a Laker fan, as somebody that does a lot of Lakers content, if this man became available, there really is only 2, 3 players that you say you move heaven and earth to try to go get. Giannis is one of those players, period. And I don't want to hear this. Well, what about Anthony Davis? Guys, Giannis Antetokounmpo is there pretty much every single night. He's battling what he does on defense, what he does on offense. He's a freak, just like his name, the Greek freak. So I'd love to get your guys' thoughts on this. I think it's an interesting topic. So feel free to put any comments below. The Giannis situation, is this man really trying to get out of Milwaukee? I thought Milwaukee was doing a good job. That market, the Bucks hadn't had success in a long time. They win an NBA championship. I feel like they're always competing for it, but something's missing there. I got a feeling it might be something from a front office perspective, because I don't know why he would say what he's saying so publicly. And then how the Lakers can come into play here. You can give your thoughts on that. Okay, one other thing I want to get into. All right, so for those who have been a part of this channel for a long time, I don't know how it started, but one time I would tell a story during the post-game show after the post-game show. And then I think somebody would start putting in the chats, it's story time with Sliwa. And I would kind of play it up. And, all of a sudden I would say, guys, you know what? I got a story coming here. It's going to come towards the end of the show. Go grab the girlfriend, go tell the family, wake up the kids, bring everybody around the computer. Bring everybody around the computer. It's story time with Sliwa time. So I got a story for you guys. I'm going to share a story with you guys. By the way, these stories typically, they'll never have anything to do with basketball. So if you think story time with Sliwa is going to include something about the Los Angeles Lakers, I would end the video right now because that's probably not going to happen. So I told you guys recently I was in Japan. Okay. So I was in Japan, and I was there for really just to go visit a wonderful country. It's actually the second time I've been, and this was the second to the last night that I was there. I'm in Tokyo, so I planned out in Tokyo that I was going to go the Japanese, the Nippon Baseball League. That's the Japanese baseball league that has, I think it's 12 teams, and I think Tokyo's got a couple squads. Hiroshima's got a team, Osaka. I think it's really cool. And if any of you guys are baseball fans, if you ever see any of those highlights of Japanese baseball, it's like, wow, they're freaking really into the game. It looks super exciting. They're cheering basically for 9 innings, and it looks pretty cool. So I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna go out there, if there's a game going on, I'm gonna get out to that game. So I'm in Tokyo. Couple nights before the game, I bought tickets. Tickets are kind of like a StubHub thing, and they're not tickets that I can get through my email. I got to go actually pick up the ticket. So get it all set up. It's me and my girl. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna go get the tickets. Get an Uber from the hotel. They got Uber taxis there. Get an Uber from the hotel. So guy picks us up. Nice little quick conversation. Where are you from? I say I'm from San Diego. My girl says she's from LA. He's like, I've been to San Diego, LA. Okay, we're doing all that. And then he drops us off at this place to pick up our tickets. So I get dropped off. I'm like, hey, thank you so much for the ride. And he goes on his way. So I go to pick up my tickets, grab my tickets. Let's say maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes goes by. Not too long. So I get an Uber taxi again because now it's about another 15-minute walk to Tokyo Dome to go to the game. So I get another Uber taxi. We wait, 5 minutes goes by. Uber comes and picks us up. It's the same guy. So it's the same guy that picked us up from the hotel. Okay, not that big of a deal, not that big of a coincidence. He was in the area. 5, 6 minutes went by. There's 40,000 taxis in Tokyo. We're talking New York City, but bigger. Okay. Okay. Guy picks us up. I look at him. I'm like, hey, it's you again. It's me again. We laugh for a quick second. Okay. Drops us off at the Tokyo Dome. Go to the baseball game. Baseball game probably goes close to 3.5 hours. By the way, 12 innings, nobody scored. The game ended. That's a completely different story. Literally 12 innings in Japanese baseball. They stopped playing baseball. They're not putting a guy on second. The game ended 0-0. I didn't see a run in 12 innings, 3.5 hours at Tokyo Dome. I didn't see a run. Okay, we'll end that one. So game ends. Instead of getting picked up at the Tokyo Dome, we're like, you know what? Let's walk back. Starts raining. We got to use the restroom, whatever the case is. We walk for like 20 minutes. It's about a 40-minute walk. So we walk about halfway. We decide we're going to get an Uber taxi. Okay. I swear on my you know what. Get an Uber taxi. 3.5 hours later, leave the park, walk 20 minutes. Randomly in a section, we stop where we stop. Looking at the Uber taxi. Okay, hey, it's coming. A couple minutes. This, that. Uber taxi's pulling up. It's the same freaking Uber taxi that picked us up from the hotel, then picked us up when we got our tickets, and then picked us up after the Tokyo Dome 3.5 hours later. Someone explained to me how the hell that happened in Japan with 40,000 taxi drivers that are out there. I don't know what to tell you guys here. I don't know what to tell you guys. I told the story earlier this week on the radio, and I'm like, all right, I gotta merge some of these stories back into my YouTube stuff. So that's my story time with Sliwa. That's all I got there. Um, about a 4 hour window. We used the taxi Uber 3 times. All 3 times was the same person. I don't know what the hell that means. If I use an Uber here in LA and it's the same guy, I'm moving to the Middle East or something. I'm getting the hell out of here. All right, like fans, that's all I got. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We got 20 seconds left until it gets to 20 minutes. Yeah, shoot the, you know what, for about 15 seconds or so. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed to the channel. I got another episode coming. I'm not I need to do episodes when I feel like there's something good to talk about. I don't want to just do something just to do something. I'm at 20 minutes. Hope you guys have a good rest of your night. Thanks, Laker fans.